Reflecting on your life, who has been the influence on your own gender socialization? Well, for me, I felt like I was blessed with parents who didn't really majorly influence the way I acted. They were very open to whatever I wanted to do. So as a young girl, I was very much a tomboy, and they allowed me to be that. And they allowed me to do what I wanted. Um, Although another strong influence, I would say, is just my peer group and my general surroundings. I grew up in a small town in the middle of Ohio, so people expected you just not to go outside the norm. Everybody expected girls to play with dolls and you to have makeup at a certain age and do this and do that. And I felt like that definitely influenced my gender socialization, especially I'm also a pastor's kid, so the idea that I had a church and the whole community looking at me to be a certain way and be a certain type of, I guess, young adult, that really affected my socialization. Um, how have they influenced your gender socialization? Well, just as I said, the idea that I needed to fit into that mold, it made me want to dress a certain way, wear makeup when I was supposed to, act when I was supposed to, not be on and like be like social when I was supposed to. All of those ideas just also ultimately led to that type of influence. Have you influenced on other people's gender socialization? Who and how? I would like to say that I haven't. I try not to influence in that type of way because I know what it's like to be growing up in like having those expectations on yourselves and being forced to act a certain way, be a certain way, look a certain way, be that type of girl, be this type of girl, not be the tomboy. And I wouldn't want to put that on somebody else, and I want to make sure that everyone around me feels like they can be whoever they want to be and not have to worry about where or how they're being perceived by the public. This question is based on the Stanford prison experiment discussed in the TED Talk by Philip Zimbardo. Moving beyond physical prisons built of steel and concrete, what psychological prisons do we create for ourselves and others? If prisons are seen as forms of control which limit individual freedom, how do they differ from the prisons we create through racism, sexism, ageism, poverty, and other social institutions? I feel like we put ourselves into molds. This includes expectations for ourselves, and at this school, the professions we are obtaining require high expectations for ourselves, and this often traps us in a certain identity that could be pleasing to graduate schools and so on. This is also something that we create for ourselves and others. Our expectation of others and how they treat us is something that plays a role in our daily lives and how we interact with people. This also includes preconceived ideas of people and stereotypes. Ideas like racism and sexism, where people feel like others are less than them, is an unhealthy prison we are forming for the public. I believe they don't differ the same. I believe they don't differ. The same psychological idea that we are lessening people in a prison as a punishment. Many people believe that they are higher than certain races, genders, age groups, classes, and so on. All of it comes back to the same control idea that someone is greater, better, or more than someone else. The first of the two questions I'd like to raise for the class is one from the reading Making It by Faking It, Working Class Students in an Elite Academic Environment. This reading shows us a lot of ideas. Take one of those ideas specifically and show how they can be seen on U Science's campus. Charles Cooley discussed 3 steps or questions to self-perception in the video that we watched, and the idea of the looking glass self. First, he talked about how do I appear to others. Second, he talked about what others think of me. And third, he talked about what revisions we make based about ourselves. He says that these 3 things are what makes us our either correct or incorrect perception of ourselves. A lot of us are applying to graduate schools or graduate programs or research programs or some other higher level or even just a job. How do you think this affects the way you or your friends prepare their application, and or how do you think this affects the way that you or your friends act in general when trying to get into graduate school.